Good morning and welcome to another Wine Steward video. And what have we here? This is a interesting looking bottle, the contents of which were enjoyed. They were at least studied last night by 29 very thoughtful students at Las Positas College. So we are nearing the end of a semester of Wines of the Old World out there, where I get to expose these thirsty young minds and sometimes thirsty, slightly more mature minds about wines of Europe, basically. So we've covered France and Spain and Italy, and last night we tackled Germany, which is quite a subject to tackle because the labels are so darn confusing. And you've got on this one at the very top, you've got this eagle-looking thing and the initials VDP. On others, you see weird names like Cabinet and Auslese and Spätlese and Trocken. And in one class period, we simply could not explain everything about German wine labels, and I thought really the solution would be to taste several nice things from there. So we had a Dornfelder, that's a red wine. The remains of that case, the last case in existence on the West Coast, are actually here at the Wine Steward. If you're interested in trying a Dornfelder, a red cross of a grape that is dark and a little bit spicy, but also very gentle and easy on the palate, rather short in finish. It has a very low alcohol for red wine. So, you know, it's one that you would put a slight chill on and drink a little bit like you would a good Beaujolais, and perhaps have grilled things with it. Once again, when you go outside and grill things and you're having really rich meats off of the grill and perhaps even slathering on something slightly sweet as far as barbecue sauce and such, you don't have to match that power. You can do you can provide relief with even a red wine that is like this Dornfelder I don't have in front of you. Well, anyway, try to find out if opposites attract when you do wine and food pairing like that. Really big sized flavors of food, really rich foods that might need, like I said before, relief from their ponderousness. This is relief in a bottle, in an interesting looking bottle. I couldn't legally tell the class what this bottle is meant to resemble, but the tradition behind the Boxbeutel is that it is in fact reminiscent of a certain part of a male goat's anatomy, and I'm going to leave it at that. If you're disgusted, know that the wine within is not disgusting. It's delicious. This is kind of the trademark bottle shape of an area of Germany called Franken, a little farther east from many of the wine regions of Germany, most of which happen in the west. And in Franken, the signature white grape is not Riesling necessarily. It is Silvaner, and it's one of the best Silvaners in the world coming from that area. And they're so proud of it, they give it this interesting bottle. Anyway, it's back in the store because I wanted to supply our class with a good example of something that's not Riesling. We certainly had Riesling after we had this wine because we were having German wines, but we wanted to show off this cool looking bottle, snicker a little bit, and provide exposure. But this is good wine. You should try it. It's good stuff. It's not very inconvenient or convenient for your wine rack, but anyway, we'll figure out a way to display it. Let's move on. Let's take a sip of something we're using on our wine bar menu this week. The sparkling wine of the week will be described in a minute or two. But let's say first that I was so pleased to receive something in the mail the other day. This, look at that. Can you see that? That is Dumol. This is my allocation notice. I get this many bottles, well, a few six packs of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and they're very hard to get Syrah. So this is a producer in the Russian River Valley whose work we have been admiring for a long time. Let's show it right side up. And they're very good at providing generosity of character without knocking you over the head with alcoholic weight. So the wines are just beautifully made from Dumol. If you know Dumol, just know that you already do know that you won't see it everywhere, and you'll only see it here at a certain time of the year. So I'm going to send out a little pre-sale offer to you guys. I'm getting pre-sale pricing. I'll flip that to you, where you get nice pricing as well if we can show this product to you earlier than later. Like, let's just give notice that Dumol information is coming in a soon-to-be-published constant contact email to all of you who receive our emails. To those of you who are receiving our emails and also members of our wine club, we want to remind you that our wine club walk-around event is next Tuesday night, and we still have space for you members who have not signed up yet. Please, no more than 2 attendees per membership, but we promise a good time upstairs and down where we will have tasting stations and little bits of food to have alongside. And I think we're going to put more of the Wine Steward staff in front of you than vendors this time. Yes, a few of our fave vendors are certainly invited to represent wines at their respective tables, but I want to have Wine Steward staff connecting with you, and maybe we can thank each other for they can thank you for keeping them employed, and you can thank them for keeping you exposed to really cool wines, including the wines that'll be on the tables that night. What I'm cooking up, and it's still not fully baked yet, is the concept of doing themed tables, where we'll almost certainly have a table that represents a few different beautiful Pinot Noirs, including this, of which we just bought the last 3 or 4 cases. Windy Oaks 2018 is a nicely developed Pinot Noir that is like, it's not very dark in color, but man, is it beautiful. It's for people who smell their wine. Windy Oaks will almost certainly be represented at the wine club party / sales event next week. Maybe we'll do a table devoted entirely to sparkling wine, and Lanson can happen there. I've been talking up their rosé, but we've just brought aboard their famous black label. This is their Brut Blanc, and it is lovely champagne now in the house, and I'm eager to show it to you. So why don't we pour that at an all sparkling table? How about a French table? Maybe we could get one of our French importers to actually come and pour that night a nice selection of things, including this very affordable white Burgundy from the southern part of Burgundy called Macon, and so on. So, you know, themed tables would be fun. How about a Spain table? Yes, Mestizaje is back. You remember this? That delicious white wine is finally back at the Wine Steward. What could be another theme? How about something that's very timely, very seasonal? An all rosé table. So if you're into rosé, as we are, head for that table first and check out a nice lineup of dry pinks from here and there. So anyway, just letting you know that we still have space available for next week's party. You can go to thewinesteward.com to sign up. Let's show you something just out of the blue that you've almost certainly never heard of. Maybe you've heard of Austria's most planted red grape called Zweigelt. Yes, it starts with a Z, and that's supposedly how you say it, Zweigelt. Maybe you've never heard of this producer of Zweigelt named Schwartz. Maybe you've never heard of the 2 people who convinced this guy who used to be a butcher and was making wine in the back of his butcher shop. Once these 2 entities tasted his stuff, they said, hey, sell your business, go all in on wine. And he has in the meantime. This dude, Schwartz, is now making beautiful Zweigelt and other goodies. And who are these 2 influencing entities? One is Kracher, K-R-A-C-H-E-R, perhaps Austria's greatest producer of wine. And the other is none other than Manfred Krenkel, and maybe you've never heard of him, but he had a lot to do with the inception of La Brea Bakery and a restaurant down in Southern California called Campanile. And he abandoned that, or sold his shares in that, both of those entities. I'm saying entities a lot today, it must be the word of the day, in order to go all in to winemaking. And his famous brand, famous in that you who know it would consider it famous, but many don't know it because so little of it is made and gets out. In fact, I can't even buy any Cinq Non these days. Maybe I will again someday. But this wine is influenced by Manfred Krenkel of Cinq Non, and it certainly has that quality of generosity and correctness at the same time. This is a Zweigelt that is not inexpensive, and we are among the very, very few in America to have any. So if you're somewhat curious about a great wine that you've absolutely never heard of before, but you trust the wine steward to provide it, trust me, this is good, very good Zweigelt. I just take it beyond Zweigelt. It's beautiful wine. It's rich and it's smooth. It's provocative in the nose. It's dark in color. It's beautiful stuff. Schwartz, Zweigelt, check it out. Hey, what's coming up? What's happening this Sunday? You know what's happening this Sunday. Cinco de Mayo. Actually, they don't lisp in Mexico. Cinco de Mayo, let's say it. And I was just having a margarita the other day that I made myself out of half-decent tequila, and I thought, this is okay, it's fine, but I could get this downtown. And then I made another one, no, I didn't finish the first, I poured it out. Right. Anyway, I made a second one out of good tequila, really good tequila, and this would be a candidate for really good tequila. This is Uno This is a Blanco. I prefer Blancos myself, but we also carry their Reposado. And anyway, the point is, if you want a truly great margarita and you're only going to use good tequila once a year, of course you would do that on Cinco de Mayo, right? So just know that the Wine Steward has good and really good and great tequila right now for your Cinco de Mayo celebrations. Celebraciones. All right, we've covered that. Let's just tell you that this cheese is in. I was talking about it maybe a week or two ago when I was referring to this as being like a cheese that we had called Crémeux de Citeaux. And I said it's a lot like Brillat Savarin. Brillat Savarin is now in the house as well. And so we've got this that comes directly from Burgundy, France to the Wine Steward. And it is soft and yummy. And you would put this, once you get the plastic off, on a plate and let it rest, come up to room temperature, and it starts to collapse a little. And you don't even have to, in fact, it would be kind of hard to slice it. You could take a knife after it, but it's more like laying butter on your crackers, or you could just scoop the cracker into this gorgeous cake of cheese. Brillat Savarin is in the house. Don't forget the Cornichon. I told you about those last week. Alrighty then, we've covered a lot, but let's tell you a little bit about what's going on in the wine bar this weekend. The new wine bar menu is published, and I told you I would tell you about this. I'm almost out of it. This is one of the sparkling wines that we did not represent in the 13 sparkling wine event a week or two ago, which is why we're giving it a spotlight this week. And it is this. This is made by a very small producer in Piemonte, Italy, and it is the only sparkling Nebbiolo we have ever carried. We've tasted only a couple of them. It's kind of a rare breed of wine, but this is made just like champagne in that the second fermentation does happen in bottle. And this is a Nebbiolo Brut. It has a beautiful pink color, kind of hard to, I think you can tell. And anyway, sparkling wine of the week, check it out. We are going to give you a flight of white wines that are all one varietal, whichever you want. They are entirely across the extreme, across the lineup of whites. They're all Sauvignon Blanc this time, and we're gonna start no further away than our good old Livermore Valley. The newest vintage of Page Mill, Sauvignon Blanc, has been released, and we're in on it. We really like it this year. Vibrant, clean, and it's exactly what most people anticipate from Sauvignon Blanc as an alternative, more refreshing alternative to, say, Chardonnay. It's better for the warmer day, right? So Page Mill, Sauv Blanc is number one. What's coming next? This guy from Lake County, Exit West. This is delicious. It sees a little bit of barrel, whereas I think the Page Mill did not. That's probably an all squeaky clean stainless steel derived Sauvignon Blanc, while this has just a little more generosity of barrel. Not oak flavor because the barrels were used, but what a used barrel gives you in a wine is just a little roundness, oxidative rounding, we call that. Isn't that fancy? Anyway, this is really provocative, lovely Sauvignon Blanc from Lake County. And then we're going to take you to a brand that you certainly recognize, Rombauer, but maybe you didn't know that Rombauer is also making really juicy, delicious Sauvignon Blanc. And this is like rich with melons. It's not oaky, it's not like their Chardonnay in that respect, but it is generous. So Rombauer tends to give you generosity, whether it's red or white, Zinfandel or Cabernet Merlot or Chardonnay and so on. It's happening in this beautiful, lush, melony lush Sauvignon Blanc. The next two wines are both from one place elsewhere, Marlborough, New Zealand. These are two beautiful Sauvignon Blancs. One is called Grey Wacky, except it's not that wacky in a New Zealandy way. You know, some of them are a little bit over the top. This is deliciously under control Kiwi Sauvignon Blanc. And the other is Clos Henri. This is produced by a maker of Loire Valley, France, Sauvignon Blanc, and they go down to do this Sauvignon Blanc project in Marlborough. They say, well, we know how to make Sauvignon Blanc. We're going to go down there and try our hand at what can happen in Marlborough, New Zealand. So 5 Sauvignon Blancs on the menu. We have a beautiful dry rosé from Mirabeau. I don't even have time to put it up here. Like, let's just say, yes, dry rosé of the week, Mirabeau X. By the way, we sell their gin. Pink gin, delicious. This is a nice glass of red. The last time we had it up here on the wine bar, you just kept reordering glasses of sleight of hand. This has a little bit of Merlot in it, but its two main components are Cabernet Sauvignon and its daddy, Cabernet Franc. And you are going to enjoy a nice, mellow, and deep and thoughtful glass of sleight of hand red wine if you order this. Now, let's tell you about the red wine flight very briefly. Last week we showed you the Grillo from this Sicilian, Italy producer, and now we are bringing up their Nero d'Avola. Just like I usually don't like Grillo because they're a little too heavy and soupy, I like the one from these guys, just like I don't like Nero d'Avola all the time because it can be stewy and over the top. This is a little more bright and brisk. It's a nice red wine. I would even put a slight chill on, just like that Dornfelder I mentioned earlier, maybe a slight chill, and have it with barbecue for relief, not for matching weight. The next wine takes us to the south of France, to a wine that has Carignan and Syrah and Grenache in it. This is Laine de Jeanne, and it is from Terrasse de Larzac. We've talked about it before, so we will not digress. Just come and have some. All right, then we're going to take you to Colieros, which is, I believe, how you pronounce it. I can pronounce Spanish far better than Portuguese, but Colieros is a red wine from the Alentejo region, which is very, very famous for its cork trees. It's the place in the world where more cork is produced than anywhere else, and this is also produced. So this is going to be half Touriga Franca and half Touriga Nacional. It's a nice, deep, rich, but easygoing red wine from Alentejo, Portugal. Now let's take you to the south of France. How about that? From the south of Portugal over to the south of France to the Rhone Valley, in particular to a sub-appellation thereof called Rasteau. Rasteau is maybe a 20 minutes drive north of Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and they too make GSM blends, and that's what's happening here in this nice Grenache Syrah Mourvèdre blend from Rasteau, Rhone Valley, France. We will end with a really cool wine. I might have represented this once before because it just went into our wine club, but it's worth talking about again because this is grown only about 10 kilometers northwest of the beautiful city of Florence in Tuscany, Italy. It is grown in and around a village called Carmignano. Carmignano is not a household name like Chianti Classico and Brunello di Montalcino because there's only about 200 or so acres of planted vines there. But this place does go way back in history, all the way back to when the Medici family was ruling the roost. And this was their hunting grounds, basically. And so they would also grow grapes out here so that they could hang out in their hunting lodge and drink local wine, right? And that is, in fact, when a wedding present, some Medici was getting married, and the French were involved. I think he or she was marrying a French he or she. And so the French nobility gave Carmignano, gave the Medicis, and it was planted in Carmignano, the grape Cabernet Sauvignon. Not yesterday, not when this super Tuscan thing started happening, but hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So there is actually an interesting tradition of adding Cabernet Sauvignon today to Sangiovese in Carmignano. That's in fact what's happening here in this bigger kind of super Tuscan style red wine. Well, thank you for listening to all this, for watching all of me, half of me, and thank you, and have a great Cinco de Mayo, and come in here in the meantime and stock up with your really good tequila. And don't forget that wine club event next week. Sign up for that, wine club members. You can still sign up to be a wine club member and get into this fun event. It'll be great. Thank you again.